Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Attila from Production Music Live. You might actually know me from one of the 4 masterclasses that I created with PML, and in today's video we are going to be looking at one of our templates, more specifically Purple Diver, from the Masquerade high-tech minimal techno sample and sound pack. And before we go any further, let's have a quick listen. As you can see, it's made in the style of, well, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say his name, so I'm just gonna stay safe and not say it. Boris. And it comes with 3 fully finished, fully produced songs in Ableton in the form of a Ableton templates. It uses mostly Ableton instruments and effects. We do use a few instances of Serum in there. Okay, let's look at the song itself first. So I looped the entire song, and it is 5 minutes and 53 seconds, which is, with today's standards, I would say it's a medium-length song. It has a nice intro section, which is obviously very DJ-friendly because this is a club track. So starts with a very few elements, so it's very easy to mix it onto the previous song. And at the end of it, the outro, same thing. Alright, so arrangement-wise, we have a nice intro, and then we have one short drop, and then we have a short break again. So the song basically has 3 break sections. This is the first one. The second one, which is 8 bars long, just about 15 seconds. And then the last one, which is 16 bars long, just about 30 seconds, and it goes into a very nice drop. And then just before the outro, there's again a section where it slows down a bit. Now, here's the thing. This is an Ableton template, and you might ask the question, why on earth would I ever need an Ableton template? What am I going to do with it? And let me tell you, there are about 1,000 things that you can use an Ableton template for, even if you're a very well-established, experienced producer. So today, let's look into my favorite one, Inspiration. Okay, so here we have our original track. And basically what I did here, and this took me no longer than 10 minutes, I opened up the bass group and I took this MIDI clip right here, and then I opened up the chord plugs and I took this MIDI clip right here and I copied it onto a new section. So this is our bass MIDI clip. I put it on 2 different tracks because on one track I have a sub bass going, on another track I have a secondary layer of a bass going. And then here is our chord plugs. And all I'm doing here is using some modified presets. One of them is on Diva. Here we have a Serum preset, which I got from one of our Tropical House Serum preset packs. And then I took a simple MIDI clip that matches the key of this song, added another Serum preset from, again, the Tropical House preset pack, added a new kick drum. And then I came to this section here. I basically copied all the drums and percussion, and then I pasted it in right here. I took the MIDI clip that I created to drive my kick drum, and I copied that into the sidechain source. And another thing that I did here was to lower the tempo of the project. And then I took all the MIDI clips, I highlighted all the notes in them, and you can change the key of the song basically very quickly this way, just with the up and down arrows. So here we have our original track. And here is what I made in the matter of 15-20 minutes using just elements from the this original Ableton template. All right, let's move on. Looking at the master track, as I said, this is a fully finished, mixed and mastered song. So there is a quick, simple mastering chain, starting with an EQ8, low cut and high cut. Make sure that there is nothing going into the frequency spectrum that doesn't need to be in there. A little bit of parallel compression. As you can see, it's only at 5.6%. We have a utility, which is here to turn the bass region of the frequency range into mono. So anything under 100 and anything under 112 hertz is in fact in mono, and then a limiter with just a little bit of gain reduction, nothing too crazy. The very first plugin is actually a effect rack, which is Francois DJ Deck Control, and I'm gonna show you the automation for this thing here. This is, I'm not gonna get into this in too deep detail because it's a very complex effect chain, and it does a whole bunch of really amazing things. This one here, which is basically a fade to gray effect to create tension and release pre-drop or post-drop, like so. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is the chord plugs, because this is what's present throughout the entire song. This part here, from the beginning, through breaks, A sections, the big break, and finally the outro is present. And it has two separate elements or layers, if you will, to it. Let's listen to the first one. I'm just gonna come here to the drop section. And now let's listen to the second part of this layer, which is a lot more plucky. Okay, so let's look into Serum over here with the first one, and we are using a preset from our melodic techno Serum preset pack, which is called Pluck It, which uses a simple saw wave and this pretty complex waveform. Filter is enabled. There is no sub oscillator enabled, so it's just oscillators A and B. There is no noise enabled. It has a very short plucking envelope, and the filter itself is being modulated by envelope 2, which is a simple low-pass filter at 18 dBs per octave reduction. Okay, let's go through the effect chain, which starts with a echo, which is using a modified preset. So this 8 dot ball is actually a preset that comes with your Ableton. And we are using automations too, obviously. Moving on to the reverb, which is a medium length reverb with some low and high cut and chorus enabled. And with this one, we are again automating the drive-at parameter in here. So when it comes to the break section, let's see the automation lane for this auto filter. So this auto filter is basically responsible for animating this entire sound throughout the whole track. So if you look at this automation curve, this is very complex. And at the end of the chain, we have our compressor, which is a sidechain compressor. Now it's worth to mention that we are using a sidechain track. And if I'm going to solo this one, you'll hear this is just a very short, very plucky kick drum, as opposed to using a long, boomy kick. And we're even using the EQ function of the compressor to cut everything below 2.3 kilohertz. So it's really just that very sharp transient that triggers the sidechain compressor. Now, you'll see that when it comes to sidechaining, it's a very severe pumping effect that has been dialed in, and the reason for that is because it just goes with this style. So this is very much a like, this song needs to pump. You know, when you're on the dance floor, you're listening to this guy's music, you're just basically pumping with the rest of the crowd, and that's enhancing the groove, and that's because of this crazy sidechain compression that is dialed in, and we're using it pretty much on all of the tracks. Okay, moving on, let's look at the kick. The kick is a part of the sample pack that comes with the Masquerade pack, so that's what we're using here. In terms of automations, we have a couple of auto filters, one with a high pass and one with a low pass option. They are both automated, and this is to bring in the kick at certain points of the song, and then in some sections they are automated to turn on. So for instance, this part here, the high pass auto filter is turned on to cut out the low frequencies, which sounds like so in the context of the full track. And then it turns off to go back to normal. Okay, other than that, we have a simple EQ8 to cut out low frequencies that are not necessary. And at the end, we have a glue compressor, which is pumping really profusely, but if you look at it here on the bottom, it's only at 13%, and its name also says parallel, which means it's being used for parallel compression, just to give a little bit of body to this kick sound. It's just a very subtle addition. Okay, drums group. So this is the part that I was talking about where I said there are a lot of elements to this song, even though it doesn't sound like there are a lot of elements in it. So if I loop this section here and we listen to the drums group, just listen to this. Like if you're not looking at the screen right now, it's gonna hear like there is a snare in there, there is a shaker, and maybe a couple of hi-hats going on there. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 elements playing all together. And they all complement each other. It's just how this song was produced that it has a lot of elements, but it sounds very nice and cohesive. I'm not going to go through all the effects because there are a lot of them. There's one here that I'm going to point out, this delay here. As you can see, it has some weird settings on it. So the left and right channels are uncoupled from each other. It's at full dry and wet, and if you see, the left channel is at 1 millisecond and the right channel is at 12 millisecond delay with 0 feedback. So what this is what's called the Haas effect, which is designed to create a nice wide stereo image, and it uses the human ear's capabilities to determine where sound is coming from based on the minute differences in timing when they hit your left versus your right ear. So the left side is at 1 millisecond, which is basically 0, or baseline, and the right side arrives at your ear 12 milliseconds later. Now anything between 0 and 20 milliseconds, your ear and your brain is going to translate that as a wide stereo image as opposed to two different sounds. So when this Haas delay plugin is turned off, you'll see everything is pretty much in the middle. When I turn it on, there you go. So it's a nice, very nice stereo image that it creates. This is our snare. Let's look into the snare, because this obviously is a very important element, especially this style. Okay, the first layer of the snare is more or less in the middle. The second layer is out on the sides. And the two together just gives this very nice wide stereo image. Okay, so this is all the drums and the kick. Let's add the bass. And now we're talking. That automation, by the way, was Francois' Fade to Gray automation that you heard. Okay, let's listen to the bass group. I'm just gonna leave this analyzer up here just so we can see what's wide, what's narrow. I'm gonna come to the drop section here. So let's listen to layer 1, which would be sort of in the middle. of the frequency range as well as the stereo spectrum. Uses a Serum patch, which is not a preset. We started from the init patch. Uses oscillator A and B. There is no filter. There's just a simple triangle and a saw wave and a very plucky envelope, which is modulating the VCA, aka the sound level itself. EQ it with a low cut just to make sure that it doesn't clash with the sub bass. Dynamic tube. Now this one here is actually a unique one, because if I turn it off, and then I turn it back on, we're using this to tame this mid-bass sound. This is a distortion plugin, so usually this one gets used to add more harmonics to it, but we're using it in a sort of in a reversed manner, if you will. The phaser, which is a pretty cool element. Let's look at this where this one is turned on. Okay, here we go. So let's listen to it with off, and now with on. So when this phaser is on, it almost gives this sound a glassy quality. And just by turning the phaser on and off, you can sort of create two different sounds with one effect. Very nice. The compressor, again, with our usual pumping sidechain. A little bit of automation on reverb, and whoever said not to put reverb on a bass must have been seriously disturbed as far as I'm concerned, because why not? Listen to this. A little bit of overdrive with the high frequencies being cut off, and we have an auto filter with some serious automations dialed in to bring this sound in and out throughout the course of the song. Fully open, closes. Let's listen to that in the context. A section, B section. Very nice. All right, let's move on to the second layer of the Serum bass. As you can hear, this is also in the mid to high frequency range, but in contrast to the previous one, and I'm going to show it to you again with this sound field analyzer. So the first layer, fully in the middle. The second one is stereo. It's not phasing though, so there is no issues. And if I put the two together, you see how nicely they complement each other? Nobody's stepping on anybody's toes. And then we follow that up with the sub bass, which, as you can see, exists fully in the bass region. And it's as mono as it gets. We have a multi-band compressor here set up with side chaining with the kick drum, by the kick drum, but it's only side chaining the bass frequencies. So if I bring in the kick drum, by the way, to be able to hear this, you have to be listening to this on some good headphones or a good set of monitors. If you're listening on your laptop speakers, you're probably not going to be able to hear this sub bass here because it's very low. As you can see, it's very low in the frequency spectrum. But to finish that thought, if I bring in the kick drum, that triggers this multi-band compressor. This is what we get. And now listen to the whole bass group with the kick drum. Nothing is stepping over another sound, and everything sounds amazing. All right, moving on. We've already dissected the chord blocks. Let's look at the Synth Group, which is another very important element. Obviously. So we have a few parts here. I mean, quite a few parts here, as you can see, starting with a Serum lead. This is for only the break section, with some very nice plucky melodies. Okay, so this again is created from scratch. So we have the init patch dialed in. Oscillator A and B, they're both using square waves, but the first one is a bit of an offset one, whereas the second one is just proper and normal. And they both go through the filter with a very gentle 12 dB per octave filter curve. The filter itself is modulated by the second envelope, which is a very nice and plucky envelope. So let me turn the effects off first, just to listen to the dry sound. Not much to it, and it's all mono, right? Until we turn delay, which is the Haas delay again, to widen it. Reverb. Now we're talking, that's very nice. And then the echo. It's a very nice sound for the break. Okay, moving on. I think it's safe to say that this is one of the most important elements in the song, besides the chord blocks. We're using OTT here because you can never go wrong with some OTT. This one is a preset that comes with the Masquerade pack. Only uses one oscillator, and the filter is being modulated by envelope number 2. Yep. Very nice. Bit of a low cut, echo, and our sidechain compressor. Now you will see that in this part, on this particular sound, and mostly all of these Synth Group sounds, even though they do get sidechain compression, it's not as severe as on the other, because these sounds are meant to be more upfront. So if I turn this down, just like it is on the other tracks, it pretty much kills the sound and puts it very far in the back. Whereas if I put it back, it stays up front. All right, very nice. Moving on. A couple of effects here, which I'm not gonna go through in deep detail. Let's see this sound over here. So this one is, in this section, there to complement the chord blocks. Let's listen to them together. Right? Without, with. Just to give it a bit more frosting on the top. And again, they work so nicely together. They are not stepping all over each other. Very, very nice sound. Okay, moving on. Let's listen to this second Serum pad. So this one again is there to complement this first pad. Let's listen to the two together. I might as well add, actually I'm just gonna loop this section here, so let's keep listening to this, and I'm gonna add the rest of the layers here. And last but not least, the ARP. Very nice together, and of course this will go together with the chord blocks. So there you go. When you listen to this, it doesn't sound like 15 different sounds, correct? They sound like one very nice, cohesive, like it's so well put together. I mean, if I was listening to this from an outsider's perspective, I would say 2, maybe 3 layers to it. That's it. Whereas in actuality, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. Okay, and last but not least, the effect group, which I'm not gonna go through in super deep detail other than this one sound right here, because this is one of my favorites. I mean, it's called Chirp for a reason. Let's listen to the full track from beginning to end, and here it goes. Boom. All right, that's it. Very nice. Again, Purple Diver from the Production Music Live Masquerade Minimal Techno Sound Pack. My name is Attila, also from Production Music Live. Thanks very much for your attention, and I will see you in the next one.